Alrighty, guys. Josh Beta and Alexander Goldman here for FTS MMA, and today we are very luckily joined by the man who made his PFL debut last weekend at PFL 1, picking up a very dominant unanimous decision victory. Impa Kasanganay. Impa, thank you so much for joining us today, man. How are things with you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm doing well.
No
Appreciate you.
problem.
Thank you.
No problem at all, man. Look, first sort of question I want to ask you, man, is you've sort of been on a long journey. I've watched over the years. All the way back from Dana White's contender series, where you picked up the win and still didn't get the contract. Came back, won your second fight, got your contract, and then sort of had these had a good time in the UFC. Ended up being released by the UFC, and then sort of being in limbo. And then, getting to the Challenger Series, which I feel like you could have just gone straight to the PFL. I don't feel like you needed a Challenger Series fight. I feel like you could have gone straight to the PFL. But having to fight for, through a Challenger Series fight, then get your way to the PFL, you've had a bit of adversity over the last few years. Can you just sort of talk to us about how that process has sort of been and how it's been for you to deal with and overcome?
Sure. So, man, it's made me better. It's made me better. It's one of those things where adversary likes like dear brothers and sisters when you face trials of many kinds. Consider pure joy when you face trials of many kinds because it produces perseverance and endurance. And I believe that's what these last couple of years have given me. A lot of perseverance and endurance. And I know that when I'm in a fight, not only have I had the opportunity to build my skill set, that I know that any fight that I'm in, when I'm focused and I'm disciplined, I'll dominate. I was focused to get the finish, and I'm about there where I believe I'll be able to finish every fight on the ground or standing. And that time period really helped me. It's like, yeah, I'm really going to sign with PFL right away. But I know God has a greater plan. So I'm focused on it. I like the PFL a lot. I'm glad to be here, and I hope it can be a place it can be for a long time, God willing, and keep building with them. Man, it's a journey. I started training when I was 24, I'm 29, and I feel like I got to see a lot of things in my young career, right? So that's been helpful. It makes me cut through the BS and cut through the garbage, but also I'm around the right people. So I guess, if I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't have been in South Florida at Kill Cliff. And that's what I've been, been a huge factor that's helped me grow. So yeah, that's like the short version of it, got to see many things to help guide me along the right path.
For sure. So, Impa, you're coming off a big win last week, which we'll certainly get to. But if you can, I'd like you to walk us back to sort of your introduction to martial arts and why you gravitated towards it early on.
For sure. So, since I was a kid, I've always loved warrior culture. I've always loved reading about him, listening to him. My dad used to fight a lot when he was a kid, just like street fights, and all his cousins and brothers talk about it where they grew up in Congo. And it always piqued my interest. I had to do a project on somebody the same birthday month and the same birthday as me in history. And it ended up being Muhammad Ali, which is pretty cool. So That was something that really got me going. Wasn't allowed to train, and my mom and dad told me when I could pay for it on my own, then I could train. So when I was 24, I started training. Started training martial arts. I started doing my grappling, my jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all of that. And I decided to fight. And I never looked back since. Funny enough, I work in accounting now, but then I left accounting so I could focus on fighting. But it was one of those things I said, I'm going to give it my all. I love warrior cultures. I love this lifestyle. I love challenging myself. I love to fight. So having MMA as an option in life is really a blessing in itself.
Awesome. That's lovely. That's lovely, man. Look, I want to sort of get your thoughts on the light heavyweight division just for a second. I know Australia's own Rob Wilkinson is the defending champion of that light heavyweight division. And he also competed last weekend and picked up the win over Thiago Santos. What do you sort of see, Rob, maybe as a potential future opponent? And where do you sort of think you can hold some advantages over him?
Yeah, so much respect to Rob. He's one of the guys I like. I think it comes to finish fights. Last year, all finishes was really pretty special. You don't see that all the time. Came in the fight, got his opportunity, Thiago Santos, and they picked up the win, showed that he had a more overall around game or style. And for me, when I fight him, if we do fight, if it's on whatever, how, works out with the way the PFL is, I believe I can mix it up well. I believe I do MMA better. I believe that I can, be on the feet. I be obviously intelligent. If he possesses power, his ability to finish, so he sees things as well. So really being disciplined, being the more disciplined fighter in that fight, and pushing the pace. Pushing the pace to break him early on and run his gas tank down, which I believe are the advantage of being the lighter fighter. I don't really see a strength difference, and of course you're gonna be in the cage. You gotta feel the person, and want to respect them and realize that every single moment counts. Especially somebody's been a champion, they know they're taking advantage of more opportunities than others have throughout fights. And him fighting at a high level, him having a greater, martial art experience and background, I have to do what I do and like outdog him, outfight him, out hustle him, be much more intelligent than my coaches. So really like mitigate the risk, right? And like take away some places that I've lacked in fights, right? So can't rest, can't be lazy with my hand discipline, right? Because he has power. So intelligent where I am and never giving him a chance to like reset or breathe or find the shot. Because when he got hit one fight, he reset. Not the guy last year. Kept pushing the pace here with Thiago, cut him open. Like he finds opportunities. So not giving him any, not agreeing to go to the next opportunities.
Yeah.
For sure. So, Impa, while obviously martial arts is the sole focus and goal, and, in my opinion, should be something you throw yourself into 100%, does it take some of the pressure off knowing that, due to the various degrees that you hold, that should you wish you do have multiple avenues open to you after fighting?
Yeah, I believe every fighter should. Man, I think that really like a true martial artist has different avenues. Like the martial arts, we talk about like the war arts, right? When you really look at martial arts, like it was always about like taking over, right? Yeah. About respect, you see like quote unquote martial law, right? If you go back way, way, way back when, what did you teach Alexander the Great? What did the Mongolian Empire learn? They learned martial arts, but they also learned finance. They learned how to read. They learned multiple languages. And I believe if you have that ability to learn, open your mind to other ways, it makes you a better martial artist, as well as you have the physical discipline and like the routine and the regimen of being a martial artist, a warrior, a soldier. It helps you too. So when I look back like at old warriors, and I think we kind of got away from just being fighters, using martial arts just to be a fighter because it's the cool one. But to me, a true martial artist, like they want to learn about nature. They want to learn about languages, finances, life, taking over strategy. They read. They make themselves do the things that don't seem fun. That I truly believe makes you a creative martial artist. Because if you look at monks, if you look at great warriors, like why would they speak so many languages, and why did they have so many jobs? Most great warriors we talk about the past had a different occupation. They were a farmer. They were a leader of a village. They had other responsibilities, but they know they had to keep themselves ready at all times in case some invading nation came. And that's kind of what that's how I look at it. Does it take the pressure off? No. It really probably adds to it because like it always challenged me. Do I really want this? Because I wouldn't have to fight if I didn't want to. I could just work as an accountant, right? Yeah. If I wanted to strictly just get my MBA, CPA, I could like grind all in, move to another, like stay, finish my master's degree, do all these different things. Whereas I don't give myself the opportunity to take that break. I don't give myself the opportunity to say, well, I'm a fighter. I gave my all to nothing else. Like, no, I'm a fighter. I'm an accountant. I have my own business to train clients. I'm working on other things, continue my education. And I have to always be true to myself and say, I love this. Whereas some fighters, I believe, like, we abuse martial arts by just saying, well, they're okay. They don't care if they win or lose. And then they just get a check. That's I think that takes away the love out of martial arts. Whereas if you really love to fight and you're truly a warrior, you will be disciplined. You will have the regimen, like, demand the highest version of yourself, demand the best of yourself. So for me, it almost like it creates the pressure where I know because I have a late night at work or early morning, I'm not going to take away from my martial arts training. It's always going to be a priority. Same thing at work, they know that too. Like I will walk out that job if they say it's not a possibility because it's part of who I am. So it really makes me have to have the more challenging conversations. And I think that a lot of times fighters, they don't think they're giving it their all because they're giving something else. But I guess my question, like in a way to look at that is like, how could you be a great dad and great martial artist? How could you be a great this? Like if you have the discipline to fight and do what you love and be disciplined, why not do that in other sectors of your life? Yeah. Because a lot of times people just leave fighting with what Coach Jones said, a lot of ache. Nothing else besides that they had great fights. And that's awesome too. You should also be able to say, I earned something. I put food on the table for the long run. And I think a lot of guys, they'll say they can't do other things because they're not disciplined in other areas of their life to do it as well. And it's maybe they don't have the option, So I want to show fighters that you can do it differently. You can do it at an extremely high level. You can do it at extremely high level, become a world champion, do great. while at the same time too, you're dominant in the cage.
Yeah, definitely. But how's sort of the body feeling at light heavyweight? You've competed at welterweight and at middleweight in the past. How is the body feeling, with the extra 15, 20 pounds added whilst in the cage competing?
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, I'm happy I don't have to cut weight. That's how my body feels. Now, for me, I mean, I love to fight. So like when I'm in the cage, it never really bothered me. It doesn't feel completely different than when I was at 170.
Mm-hmm.
Like some things, like, you say, okay, like, you can be heavier, so you can push your pace. But, like, chin's great. Body takes certain shots differently. They give more mass to you. Speed-wise, I don't feel any different. Like, I still train with welterweights and sometimes lightweights and still can move with them. So when I played college football, I was like 245 pounds. Wow. I was 235 pounds and 220. So a lot of times, yeah. So a lot of people don't realize, like, I was heavyweight size for a long time. Being like an athlete in college, I would run with the cornerbacks, defensive backs. Like, played rugby one year, and I was still about 233, and I was running with like the I forget their names now, but whatever. Like the fast, all the fast little guys, scrappy guys.
Yeah.
I can still go with them. So it's never really been an issue fight wise. Just like where you place your feet and noticing that these guys are kind of like. You're like watching American baseball, like they have like those change ups where things go, then it's there. You're like, what the heck? Whereas a lot of welterweights and middleweights and lightweights, they're all like fastballs. It's always coming. They're always resetting, throwing shots back at you. Where the heavyweights, they throw 1, 2, and they got to reset 3, 4, even the faster ones, So it's just like adjusting my eyes to what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So, Impa, there was obviously some massive news regarding Endeavour securing the WWE, and while that is linked to the UFC, it's certainly going to have a ripple effect on MMA as a whole. What sort of positive and potentially negative changes could you see arising in the sport due to this, almost sort of merger?
Positives, I believe that can maybe bring more money and more eyes and attention to the sport. If you look at like sports, so I would say like WWE is a sport and a theatrical performance.
Yeah.
MMA to use a lifestyle and a fight out. Like you could take somebody's life points away. So I don't really consider it a sport. Like we have a team and do this. Like you really go there and you're fighting and like getting cut open and cutting people open, breaking limbs and taking life points away. So I think that'll bring a lot of light to it. Maybe other eyes will see it and they're gonna want to push for healthcare. They're gonna want to push for benefits. They're gonna want to push for things that fighters didn't have before. Maybe they'll have the money for it since it's a greater company. They're going to be a crossover somewhere. Some guys who fight and some girls who fight don't want to fight anymore and cross over and they have a better connection to be in that wrestling developmental leagues. Maybe they'll have cross promotion events that bring in more money for people. But besides the money, to bring more eyes, more connections, and more business overall, I think it'd be cool to have different events in the same weekend. To create the ripple effect, I could see maybe other organizations following suit. While they see one organization might have certain benefits or more attention, they're going to want to compete. So it's going to be like a rising tide raises all ships.
Yep.
So I could see PFL want to do something different. I want to see Bellator do something different for the fighters too, and maybe some promotions will start their own wrestling leagues, right? And maybe that'll just be more money, more income. Maybe some fighters like think about the fighters who aren't healthy anymore to fight, but they could definitely put on a show, put on the act. And they're so used to being in that combat environment, they probably still train. They're gonna have some cool, crazy, athletic movements. They're gonna draw in the children. So I see that. Negatively, I can see some people really getting confused. Like, well, now they're part of the same company, so these wrestlers could definitely be these MMA fighters. Like you get that, or you get the not casuals, but it's like people who have like a misguided view of what it really is.
Yeah.
And it adds so much more of a show to it. I saw like Conor McGregor was going back and forth with like it was like Roman Reigns and like will it become something and will people think like that's the standard? Will it take away from the war? Like for me, it's not about being the most famous fighter, but being a true warrior. So I'm not interested personally in wrestling. I believe it's fake. It's not something I'm into. I get it. I get how people love it. I get how people really am I there? Sorry. I get how people really love it and like they have like family connections and ties. I think it's great. One more positive I would say is I definitely think they're more positive than negative, but I think the positive is too like some kids really don't need to see fights right away. They need to understand what it is, but maybe they can like get a soft introduction to martial arts and different things like that. where they don't have to see someone's violence and use it. They can just use it for fun, like WWE or wrestling or whatever they have on the table. So that's what I think.
Definitely. Impa, look, man, a couple last ones from us. Don't want to keep you too long today. But you know,
You guys are good. Hanging out.
Appreciate it, man. Look, so when are you sort of? Do you know when your next scheduled bout is for? And do you have the PFL expressed any interest in any opponents for you yet for that second fight?
So yes and no. So when my Challenger Series fight, it was a lot closer to the season start. So they would have signed me, cool. But they're like, what if I broke my hand or cut? You know, I get it. So they had the showcase fight, which is 3 weeks after. Grateful I claimed that victory. You know, Ray Seffa, got a lot of respect for him. I think, you know, internally, I see on the outside, inside, like a lot of people really have respect for him within his organization, which is cool. And that he fought. And you can see he's like one of the people there, but he really demands the best. Came up to me in the cage and was like, hey, like, definitely bring you back for the playoffs. Be ready to go in June. Be ready to go in the playoffs. And how cool it'd be. Let's say I don't fight in June, but I fight in the playoffs. Go claim that victory. I'm fighting for the title. Go get that.
Yeah.
Fight June 8th. Awesome. We get that point. Still going to playoffs. Still have the opportunity. Right now, I don't have a showcase fight for June 8th. So I'm going to trust God and say that I'm open to fight on June 8th in Atlanta on that card, which is the second before the last seeding round. And then I know I'm for sure in the playoffs wherever they may be. They didn't give me a location yet, but I'll be ready to go. So I'm just man. I'm grateful. I love to fight all three fights, you know, all the way through the title. They claim that victory. For sure. I'm ready now. I'm going to keep building, getting used to this weight class, challenge myself, keep working with my coaches, make those adjustments, and they'll get in the next finish.
For sure. So, look, Impa, last question from us, man. You said regarding your last fight that you're not just here to entertain, and I think it raises a sort of interesting point where I think fans, some fans maybe don't appreciate that your ultimate goal is to win. It's not just to put on a barn burner every single time you step in there. So I was curious, have you ever sort of felt pressure, whether it was, you know, internal or, you know, external from the crowd or something, to somewhat throw caution to the wind and focus on entertaining rather than fighting tactically to win?
And I think I have to listen to my coaches because, like, I'm not so. When I say that, I guess it's like half a quote, but then I didn't say it correctly. But a lot of times I was telling people, I'm not here to entertain, like be an entertainer, like create a show, talk trash, put somebody's child down, or just be that way. Because I believe, from the general feedback that I've gotten, that all my fights are entertaining. And my focus is to beat the person up, claim the victory, finish the fight. And I've been so grateful, like, you know, I get opportunities to be like on your podcast and people. I've never had a comment where somebody was like, oh, you fought so boring. You try to fight safe. Like, I tell people, you better finish me. So like, I'm going to keep coming forward. You know, my coach even told me, said, why did you keep throwing down when the fight was like, you clearly had the victory? I was like, well, I wanted to get him out of there. So it's like, I don't think about the fans as far as like, I'm trying to do it that way. Like my standard is to be the best, the greatest. So like, I got to finish fights. That's like where I'm going and being a dominant fighter. And I've been grateful to get from my last two fights, you know, of course, got the knockout, the fight before they got knocked out again. And this one, you know, got the unanimous decision. But like, I think I'll fight and I was just pushing that envelope, pushing the envelope to get that. So I've never felt pressure from that. And that's not where I seek my validation for. You know, like, I really here to dominate fights. And I'm harder on myself than most people. So I think that by the way that I fight, the style that I've been able to develop and the coaching that I have, like all the fights will be entertaining. Yeah, like I'm not going to let a guy just sit there and just try to hold me down or anything like that. I'm going to keep fighting, keep attacking, keep it going. You know, I even had a fight in another promotion where it was mostly grappling, and it got so much great feedback because it was just up and down, right? And I'm grateful that for the general consensus that I get a lot of love, and I think when I keep that mindset that I'm not just trying to do it a certain way, that it naturally comes.
For sure. Well, look, Impa, thank you so much for joining us today, man. We really appreciate your time. So, look, enjoy a little bit of a well-earned break. And, you know, I know that we'd love to see you on that June 8th card, and all the best, man. And we'd love to talk to you again in the future.
Thank you. For sure, hit me up anytime you guys want to talk. I'll message your way.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Impa.
Thank you.
Thanks.